We're now we're under 2 hours away from the Christmas as the countdown clock ticks down. Good evening, I'm Brandon Jones. Melissa Painter is off tonight, and from all of us here at Fox 8, Merry Christmas. Now we begin in Greensboro, where 17 people are trying to keep the Christmas spirit after their apartments caught fire late last night. They live in the Spring Manor Apartments, a complex near the intersection of West Meadowview and Randleman Roads. And that's where we find our Fox 8's Lindsay Even. And Lindsay, any word on how this fire started?
No, not yet. The fire department is still looking into exactly what caused this fire. Now, they say it started in a wall and quickly moved to the roof. If you take a look, you can still see some of the damage. This fire was a challenge for firefighters, and they had to call in more manpower just minutes after getting here. Now, earlier today, we spoke with some of the renters, and for many of them, they were planning to spend Christmas morning here with their families. For the people who live here, it's a Christmas they'll never forget.
I wish that we could have had our Christmas in our home and not in a motel.
A fire tore through the Spring Manor Apartments last night.
When I came out, I couldn't believe that was our building on fire.
Firefighters had a hard time with this fire because of the roof structure.
A lot of flashing lights. And as I came out, the firemen were yelling at me to come out of the building.
The blaze badly damaged 8 units in this building and left behind a big mess.
And it would have been my first Christmas with my daughter.
Dietrich Morton and 16 others are now spending Christmas somewhere else.
Yeah, I am a little saddened by not being inside of our apartment, waking up to our Christmas tree lit up and her face lit up while opening her gifts.
This mom was able to get some things from her apartment, which she moved into only a month ago.
It was right scary. It was scary. I was more scared for the people over there away because their apartments is gone.
Varnell Guy's apartment didn't have too much damage, but she isn't allowed inside and had to make other Christmas plans.
Because I want my grandkids to open their presents up in their living room.
For Guy, this fire makes her remember the important things.
Thank God that everybody got out safe. Material thing can be put back.
And even though she won't be spending Christmas inside her home, she's just lucky to have one. Now, luckily, no one was injured in this fire. The fire department is still investigating exactly what caused it. About $184,000 in damages has been reported, and the Red Cross is helping out everyone that was displaced in this fire. Again, about 17 people. We're live in Greensboro. Lindsay Eden, Fox 8 News.
All right, thank you, Lindsay. Fire officials in Lexington got an early start this Christmas Eve. A fire destroyed an abandoned home on Raleigh Road. Now, investigators say the fire broke out shortly after 9 a.m. this morning. Crews were able to put it out a short time later. Right now, some Lexington firefighters are working 24-hour shifts through the holiday weekend. We caught up with one who has 2 kids and will be working on Christmas Day as well. He told us it's all a part of the job.
We sit and sometimes we complain a little bit like we may have to work here, we may have to do this on certain days, but then we still have a house to go home to when it's all said and done.
Now, no word on what caused the fire and no one was injured. Where firefighters are not the only ones working hard this Christmas Eve, we rode along with Greensboro police officer J.D. Donaldson tonight.
My shift starts at 4 p.m. or 1600 and runs till 0300, which is 3 o'clock in the morning. We know when we sign up for the job that we're going to be working holidays. Right now we have an accident at East Cornwallis in Georgia. There's a domestic dispute at 307 West Florida. We have some burglar alarms that's out. Pretty much it's a normal day. We know that we have to work. No one's in a foul mood because they're working a holiday or anything like that. A lot of people are out of town and traveling, so sometimes that cuts down on the call load, but it comes in spurts. It just heats up with an influx of people at the shopping centers and mall areas and things like that. It seems like with the larger crowds that a certain element feels that it's an easier time to commit these crimes. If I was not working, I would be at home with my family, but we work 365 days a year, so coverage is needed in the city, so that's what we do.
It's been a busy time for Greensboro police. They've really been concentrating on shopping areas the last few weeks and trying to prevent people from stealing. Well, young students and their supporters use this Christmas season for a special rally today. Anthony Wilson tells us they believe in a dream of higher education, even though they're legal U.S. residents.
Our support for our Latino
They stood united on Jones Street in the cold, as the Reverend William Barber declared.
One of the facts we must remember about Christmas is that Mary and Joseph and the baby Jesus were treated as though they were illegal.
That's right. That statement, one of many voiced by advocates of students who are not legal U.S. residents.
Those students that demonstrate through their efforts and struggles that they want higher education to better themselves and their family are denied equal access to education.
Who came here when young with parents from other countries.
I grew up in a family with an undocumented parent. When we left my father, my mother was left with no status, and I don't believe that anyone should have to live their lives in fear.
Cynthia Martinez graduated with honors from high school in Sanford, but was rejected by the community college there because she's undocumented.
I cannot tell you how I felt that day because I had worked so hard. And if somebody was to tell me, where's your home? I would tell you that my home is Sanford, North Carolina, because I grew up here since I was 2.
Those emotional appeals happened in the shadow of the building where state laws are made, and the people who gathered here, as well as the organizers, do have a Christmas message for legislators.
Consider the humanity of every single resident of North Carolina, including my Latino and Latina immigrant brothers and sisters.
Should not throw us to the back of the bus simply because of our immigration status.
Hopefully they will hear this message on Christmas Eve and receive it into their hearts.
A federal bill giving those students what they want was introduced in Congress back in May, but so far it has not passed. With no Virginia, you won't find Newt Gingrich or Rick Perry on your Republican primary ballots next year, but it's a nice Christmas present for 2 other candidates. Peter Ducey explains why it's happening.
To get on the ballot for the Virginia GOP primary, you need 10,000 signatures from registered voters, including 400 from all 11 counties in the state. Governor Rick Perry and former Speaker Newt Gingrich didn't do that, so now they will not be on the ballot in Virginia. And now frontrunner Newt Gingrich is saying only a failed system excludes 4 out of the 6 major candidates seeking access to the ballot. Voters deserve the right to vote for any top contender, especially leading candidates. We will work with the Republican Party of Virginia to pursue an aggressive write-in campaign to make sure that all the voters of Virginia are able to vote for the candidate of their choice. The Perry campaign says they're looking at the law to determine whether or not an appeal or challenge is warranted, but they say this is an isolated situation and it won't affect the governor's ability to get on the ballot in every other state. As for Gingrich, analysts say this is not good.
This is a problem if you're the front runner and you can't organize your campaign so that you can meet these filing deadlines. It's elemental. It's the fundamental thing you do.
The University of Virginia Center for Politics Director Larry Sabato now says another way to look at VA ballot fiasco is that ours just found out only 2 campaigns have what it takes to compete organizationally. That would be Romney and Paul, the only 2 who will be on the primary ballot. Virginia has 13 electoral votes. You need 270 to win, and President Obama took that state in 2008. In Washington, Peter Ducey, Fox News.
Virginia's primary is on Super Tuesday, which is March 6th. North Carolina's primary is May 8th. Meanwhile, President Obama is spending Christmas in Hawaii. It's been his family tradition since he took office. Now, he was late getting there, though. He had to wait for Congress to extend payroll tax cuts first. Air Force One landed in Hawaii Friday evening. The president wasted very little time getting into vacation mode. No sooner did the motorcade take the president to the Obama's rental home here, then he was back on the road heading out to dinner with family and friends. The president and the First Lady recorded a Christmas message for the nation before their vacation began.
And let's say a prayer for all our troops standing post all over the world, especially our brave men and women who are in Afghanistan and serving, even as we speak, in harm's way to protect the freedoms and security we hold so dear.
The Obamas plan to stay in Hawaii until shortly after New Year's Day. The president mentioned our troops in his Christmas message, and there are military families across the nation with amazing Christmas celebrations. Now we're going to show you a bunch of those powerful reunions, and later expecting a bunch of gift cards tomorrow. Why, what kind they are make a big difference as far as expiration dates and what you can do if it's not exactly from your favorite store.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. I want my daddy.
I want my daddy.
Okay, well, let's see what we can do.
Daddy.
It's one of the great homecomings we've seen this week as our troops return home from Iraq. Now, this was Wednesday night when Seth Hall surprised his daughter as she sat on Santa's lap at Oak Hollow Mall. You know, it's so amazing to see the joy of families as our troops come home from Iraq. Elizabeth Pran shows us many of the heartwarming reunions.
An emotional reunion at Naval Air Station Whidbey Island in Washington State.
I love you.
The final men and women of the Yellow Jackets Electronic Attack Squadron returned to their families, home for good from Iraq.
Just in time for Christmas.
It's always nice to come home before Christmas, spend time with the family. We worked hard to make sure that happened, and we're here, so it's a good day, I think, for everybody.
Just last week, a caravan of U.S. soldiers and supplies crossing the border from Iraq into Kuwait, marking the last American combat troops to leave after almost 9 years of fighting. Now, at Fort Hood, Texas, tears and relief as these nearly 200 soldiers march toward their families. They are among the very last U.S. combat soldiers to leave the country and return home.
It feels great. I'm real happy. It's been almost a whole year, and I'm just ready to get home and spend some good time with my family.
Their return, these families say, is simply the best gift.
It's amazing. It's the most amazing, best Christmas. Just to have your son and your fiance out of harm's way and home, and where you can put your arms around them.
Those soldiers traveling more than 7,000 miles from Kuwait to Fort Hood. In Atlanta, Elizabeth Pran, Fox News.
They also delight in his gladness in heaven.
Thousands of U.S. troops are still away from home, though. They're either fighting or supporting the war in Afghanistan. Some of them celebrated Christmas with a service at a naval base in Kabul. They're sad to be away from their family, but understand their duty.
It's sad being away from my family at Christmas, but it's nice being here with all my brothers and sisters in the armed services from the U.S. and from all the various countries.
Now, 10,000 troops have come home from Afghanistan this year. The U.S. combat involvement is scheduled to end in 2014. Ever wonder why we celebrate Christmas on December 25th? I have to tell you, there's no easy answer.
The Christians came in an effort to grow Christianity. They simply usurped those traditions and they called it their own.
The early church in this time denounced any association with pagans and pagan rites and festivals. So I don't think that that theory is very plausible.
The debate over the origin of Christmas traditions. A peaceful scene in Bethlehem, thousands of people flocking to Manger Square for a celebration at the place Christians believe Jesus was born. 90,000 people will visit the Holy Land this week. Well, we all know Christmas is the time Christians celebrate the birth of Jesus, but it's also a day historians discuss and debate. Fox News religious correspondent Lauren Green is on a holiday investigation.
For centuries, Christians have celebrated the birth of Jesus on December 25th. Conventional wisdom holds that it replaced pagan festivals.
The ancient Egyptians, they were already celebrating the pagan holidays. Saturnalia was on Christmas Day, and it was celebrated with trees and gifts and songs and roasting chestnuts on an open fire. And the Christians came in an effort to grow Christianity. They simply usurped those traditions and they called it their own.
But some scholars disagree.
This is a very difficult theory, I think, to hold because the early church, certainly in the 3rd and 4th centuries, was not at all receptive to pagan practices. In fact, the early church in this time denounced any association with pagans and pagan rites and festivals. So I don't think that that theory is very plausible.
No one knows for certain when Jesus was born. The early church focused on his death and resurrection as the defining moment for their faith.
Later, they decided to celebrate the birth of Jesus as the Son of God, so they had to figure out his birthday.
Now, here's the move that the early church made. It believed that Jesus was conceived on the same day that he was crucified. So the belief was that he was conceived on the 14th or 15th of Nisan, according to the Hebrew calendar. Translated, he was conceived on March 25th, according to the Roman calendar. Fast forward 9 months, and we have the date of December 25th.
It's a settled tradition, but not a confirmed fact. What is certain, Christmas has become commercialized, the birth of Jesus a sidebar. It's not what the early church fathers intended.
It was important for biblical reasons as well as theological reasons for the church to celebrate the birthday of Jesus Christ. The Son of God really did become a human being, the God-man Jesus of Nazareth.
Whether December 25th or some other day, the fact is Jesus was born, and for 2,000 years, Christians have celebrated. Merry Christmas. In New York, Lauren Green, Fox News.
He may be the jolly old elf, but sometimes Santa puts a jolly old scare into kids at picture time. See some of the best just ahead. Then Roy Ackland found a guy who puts real art into taking Santa pictures. You have to see this guy's work.
Comes this time each year. Well, way up north where the air gets cold, there's a...
Here comes Santa Claus, right down Santa Claus Lane. Vixen and Blixen and all his reindeers pulling on the reins. Bells are ringing, children singing, all is merry and bright. So hang your stockings and say your prayers, 'cause Santa Claus comes tonight. Here comes Santa Claus, right down Santa Claus Lane. He's got a bag that's filled with toys for boys.
Wow, those are some interesting pictures there. Whether Santa picture, good or bad, is a holiday tradition for families. Roy Ackland found one photographer who takes good to another level when it comes to pics of St. Nick.
Okay, you ready? There.
Larry Hirschberger is not just a photographer. He's known for creating portraits that go well beyond the typical.
You know, it's hard to really describe what I do because it's a culmination of a whole bunch of different skills and talents over kind of collected over a lifetime. Where's your keys, Santa?
This time of year, he teams up with Santa, recreating his workshop in his studio.
The whole premise is to have the dream of the child. The child is dreaming about being at Santa's workshop, and what magical moments can we capture at the workshop? And that's the key. In this particular image, Santa is showing this little girl where the reindeer are coming out the window. I want Santa to say, this is where my sleigh is coming. This is the reindeer. They're going to be here any minute. Look, look. And all of a sudden, the little girl is captured. And they don't even know I'm there at that point. That's great.
But what happens in the studio is only the beginning.
Once I've captured the image, that's just the first stage of what I do. Because I've worked very hard, and it's almost been like a chemist, you know, trying to make that perfect cola. Well, mine is trying to come up with that perfect look that gives me almost a Rockwell feel, if you will.
But he also takes the images, combines them with poetry, and puts them in book form.
So that you're not only getting all the images from your session, but you're actually getting an heirloom quality book that you'll have for the next 100 years.
Preserving not only a moment in time, but the talents of a very unique photographer.
This is my passion. It is what I love to do more than anything else in the world.
Roy Ackland, Fox 8 News.
Now, Larry does his work at Kissing Tree Studio on North Main Street in High Point. You can see more of his work on his website, kissingtreestudio.com. You'll also find a link along with the story in the Roy's Votes section of myfox8.com. Well, jolly old St. Nick looks a little different when you visit one woman's home in Charlotte. Alice Lagan has black Santas everywhere. Now, this 74-year-old started collecting these figurines about a decade ago after her mother died. And these are quite some Santas here. I mean, they sing, dance, some play jazz, rock and roll, and you can even bust a rhyme. I'm talking about a little hip hop here.
I'm 74 years old. And you never thought that you would see a Santa that would look like you were high?
No, not in my lifetime. So that just goes to show you how things change.
These Santas are also firemen, a baseball player, and a golfer. Well, 8 to 10 people asked for gift cards this holiday season. That makes it easy on gift givers, but there can be some problems. Why some cards expire before others, and what to do if you get one you just don't like. Gift cards are the most popular Christmas present. Okay, let's face it, they're easy to buy, easy to ship, and they solve the what to get someone dilemma. But you want to remember though, some gift cards have expiration dates, but a law that took effect last year means that at least 5 years from purchase. There are some exceptions to be aware of.
Gift cards that you received as bonus incentives for shopping. Say Best Buy gave a free $50 gift card with a new Samsung tablet purchase. Those don't act like normal gift cards, and those will have shorter expiration dates. So those can expire as quickly as 3 months. So you definitely want to read the fine print.
Got a gift card you don't want? You can find several websites that help you trade, or you can always donate them to charity.
If you get a bike or a remote control car, shouldn't have any problems going outside and having a great old time. Looking pretty good for Sunday afternoon.
Nice. You know, I was out shopping today and I saw a lot of people with like flip-flops and shorts and stuff, and I was thinking just this time last year we had already had snow.
Yeah, in fact, Christmas, we had that Christmas snow out there. So yeah, big change from year to year. So far looking pretty good for us.
All right, thanks Charles. We'll be right back after this. A young musician's anxious days are over. Days and nights after her beloved expensive violin disappeared. The $170,000 instrument was made in 1835 and lent to her by an organization in Taiwan. Now on Tuesday, she got on a megabus in Boston and got off in Philadelphia without the priceless violin.
I'm never gonna have my violin out of my sight.
At Christmas time, we all talk about you gotta believe, so this is clearly a Christmas miracle where this young lady's going to be able to continue her studies.
At first, when she called the bus company to let them know what she had done, they stopped the bus en route, but they couldn't find it. Days later, the company that cleans the buses turned up with the instrument and returned it to the much relieved musician. You know she's happy this Christmas.
Oh yeah, everybody loves a happy ending. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too.
Well, you know what?